Organic, true urban breakbeat culture.
This is dBridge representing Exit Records, here to talk about Mosaic and other things. I think, within drum and bass there's two sort of definite sides in some sense, where there's the dance floor and what caters for that, and for me I like that side of it, but what I always liked about drum and bass was the other side. I missed albums like Matrix, Sleepwalker, or so the Photech albums that you can put on and listen, and they worked equally as well in the club as well as at home. I was getting sent all this music from all these different artists, and it was like it needed to be put together in some ways, which is why we started the whole Autonomic podcast in the first place as well. Just that need to kind of get all this music that was out there, sort of that people were doing separately, to try and bring it together and give it some kind of context for people to kind of get it, so to speak. So this, in some ways, this album is a continuation of the idea behind the podcast. We kind of did it first with the Fabric Live CD, that compilation, but that was mixed. But I wanted to do something where everyone else can have the records to do what they want with us, as they see fit, kind of thing. So I was getting sent all these tunes from everyone, and they were originally earmarked as 12 inches, but I was just waiting for B-sides, and some of them were coming, some of them weren't, and it was kind of like, well, I'd kind of put them all together, and I was listening to them, and it just seemed to me they kind of worked as a whole thing, as a compilation. So I thought, well, why not? It was just kind of, it all came together quite naturally, really. It was all these, I had all these tracks, and it seemed to work. So it was kind of like, okay, what's the best way of doing this? What's the best way of putting these tracks together? And we'd had the experience of kind of, with the podcast, of, piecing music together. So it kind of, that's why it kind of felt like there was these two CDs that needed to happen, which would kind of cater for the two different sides within what we're doing, So the first one being probably a lot more laid back, but still just showcasing what it is that I like personally about drum and bass, that it has that kind of, can go in so many different directions, and it doesn't have to just cater just for the dance floor. And then with the CD, the second CD, the kind of the other side, probably a bit more upbeat, still that kind of stuff that I like and love, some of the rollers, and just interesting, but not as paint by numbers as a lot of other stuff out there. So yeah, it did, like I said, it felt natural. It felt like it's something as a label I wanted to do, and it feels like something that I want to continue to do as well. So I'm really pleased with the way it's come out. This is kind of like the next step. Naturally, right, we now need to get this music out to people for them to be able to have it themselves. It's all well and good us hoarding all these great tunes, but we need to kind of get other people involved and be a part of it. I've always been amazed at how, as a genre, we were able to kind of get all these, bring all these influences in and make something new out of it. And that's what I always loved about it. Is, say the heyday, or I suppose my heyday of drum and bass, sort of the Blue Note era, and kind of, what people were doing then, and there was all these different, you see all these different influences, and it's just nice to kind of like, with the artists that I got in there, that, there is almost, I suppose it sounds conceited in some ways, but kind of just an adult approach to making music, and you can hear that, and also just this kind of sense of sort of a personal. You can hear them as the artists within what they're doing, which is what kind of draws me to music and to the tracks on this album. That I can, hear that sense of honesty in what they're doing, rather than this kind of like, okay, what can I do to make everyone go, oh, it's like, I don't really give a shit about that. So, there's, I say, tracks like Stray's track, for me, it just sounded, it was just, it kind of appealed to me in a sense of, I'm a big lover of the Warp record label, and, I'm just quite a new convert to some of that stuff on there, like Boards of Canada and Auteca and things like that. But you can hear that those kind of influences are in there, and how they come across. So it's just nice to be able to kind of have a collection of music that's not, just not following what everyone else is doing, so to speak. So it's just kind of people making the music that they want to make for the love of it, which is what I think was missing in drum and bass for a long time. Coming from my point of view, where I was part of Bad Company, I kind of, we literally took it to the sort of pinnacle of kind of music for the masses, so to speak, to the point where the masses decided what's going on and what's happening. So it was like nice to have that. I don't really give a fuck about what anyone else thinks. I want to make music for me, which is what, in some ways, I think dubstep did. And gave our scene the kick up the arse it needed, in the sense of like, you could hear that these producers were coming along making music for the love of it, rather than what they thought everyone else wanted to hear. So there's that element in a lot of the tracks in there, and it's just like with tracks like instrumentals, Scene Free, Invisible Cities, Crumbs, it's just this. It just kind of showcases for me what it is that can still be done within D&B. It's not. When we started the whole Autonomic thing, everyone was like, it's nothing new, and da-da-da. We never professed for it to be anything new, so to speak. It was just kind of us sort of rewinding a bit, and then rather going down this path, we thought, okay, we'll go that way instead and see where it takes us. So we're still, a lot of the artists are still doing that, going down that path, seeing where it takes them, and not being sort of constrained by what they think people want to hear. So we slowed the tempo down, definitely. We kind of, as we said, 170 BPM seems to be the norm at the moment. So within that as well, you've got the half tempo, which is the 85 BPM. So in some ways, it kind of brought us closer to the dubstep scene, in the sense of, those guys were doing things at half tempo. So 70 BPM, 15 BPM, it's not that big a difference really. So it's like that's why I kind of, it seems to me why a lot of people within that scene kind of get what it is that we're doing, or deal with the people within like instrumental and so on are trying to do. So I just personally think there's just so much scope to do stuff really within those like our tempo range. There's a lot that just by slowing it down a little bit, just kind of opened it up a lot more to rhythms and melodies and key changes and song structures that weren't really being explored. Well, I suppose in some ways they are with the more mainstream drum and bass, but just in terms of what we're doing, I think it's there's that space again to try things out. I think we've just if anything, we've just kind of said to people and said to these artists, like, look, there's so much that can still be done. What can you do? Let's hear it. Let's see it. So I'm just getting some really good stuff at the moment. I said, like, Scuba's doing some awesome stuff and putting it out on his label as well, which is good. You got Ramadan's done under the Pearson sound. And I'm just, I don't know, there's a lot of new artists coming through, and I think it's like, there was always a kind of snobbery in some ways in drum and bass, where if you hadn't done your apprenticeship, so to speak, then you can't really come in, and it's all that, that's kind of, I admit I had that kind of sentiment as well. It's like, well, you need to have been suffering for 8 years before you can get anywhere in this scene. But good music is good music, and so someone like Mode and Stray, who people haven't really heard of, it's like I can't deny that these tune tracks are good, so I'm going to put them out. So it's just good to hear these kind of kids, I'm not going to say kids, that's condescending, but yeah, you know, these new producers coming through and just giving, as we say, giving me a kick up the arse and giving me that inspiration to kind of try things out as well. So that's why I'm at the moment as well, just trying to sign albums from a lot of these people, because I'm interested to see where they go, given where they'll go within the, okay, here you've got 72 minutes you can get on a CD, what can you put on there? So Dan Harbour, he's just done an album for me. Got Loxy and Resound have just done an album for me, so it's from my point of view, things are good, and it's a really interesting time, just in terms of where people want to go. True urban breakbeat culture, organic.
Organic. True urban breakbeat culture.